Today is March 8th, historically important day, Women's International Day. Margee morning, in this particular episode, we will discuss what are the major issues that various papers, right from Times of India, Economic Times, Financial Express, or regional paper like Maharashtra Times. It's very popular among regional students, or Lok Satta, which is supposed to be the analytical understanding of region. We will discuss what exactly is we can pursue various aspects, various issues, various entities related to our topics. That means civil service, precisely prelims, or up to certain extent mains, because this is March. March 8 International Day, some people will say it's a Clara Zetkin or Rosa Luxemburg that initiated motion, and hence from 1911 we have this Women's International Day. In Maharashtra specifically, there is a tradition. Some people will say, no, we need to celebrate quote unquote Indian Women's Day. Some people argued that no, we have in Maharashtra we have a specific tradition, and 3rd Jan is a birth of Savitribai Phule, and Savitribai Phule is important personality in not only just Maharashtra but overall women's education per se in South Asia. So let's celebrate Savitribai. We have in GS1 question on Savitribai Phule. So Savitribai Phule may be there. 25th December, Ambedkar Ban Manusmriti, and that may be for certain people maybe a Women's Liberation Day, or Stri Mukti, maybe a Stri Mukti. How to understand the exact nature, content, scope and limitations of Women's Day celebration? Today we have Mary John. Mary John talks about what exactly is the nature of your International Day celebration. Is it a March 10 or is it a March 8 historically? So that is really one issue. We will discuss in our simplified in details. As far as other than 8th March International Women's Day, we have, for example, in Maharashtra this 1670 on the same is a Purandar Treaty. Purandar happened in 1666. Then you have 23 or more than that force has to surrender to Mughal, and then you have to recover. In 1670 Port Purandar was recovered. You have various treaties with Port Purandar. That means it happened in 1775 also. After that, after Surat Treaty, you have to again regain your Purandar Treaty. So historically you have question on Purandar Treaty also. Historically it's an important treaty. 1870 New York Stock Exchange formed. 1910, just now we discussed that Clara Zetkin and Rosa Luxemburg, both eminent personalities of the period. This is just end of that first decade, 1910. 1918 Russian Revolution, March Revolution really started in 1918. So you have various events. If we analyze our Express, for example, Indian Express, it talks about internet imperialism. Ministry of Electronics and Telecommunication talks about selective companies and how these companies are creating hurdles to create smooth functioning of internet imperialism. For that, for example, your 10th NCERT will talk about imperialism and colonialism. What exactly is the connection? So theoretically, what is imperialism? Conceptual clarity is again important. How imperialism is different from new imperialism? For example, new imperialism has connected with its economic strata from 1870. Neo is different. New imperialism is different from new imperialism, NEO. So what exactly is the meaning of the term is very important. Then you have this political parties, you have election in various states. So DMK again is an important player in Tamil politics. So our NCERT will remind us that formation of various political parties, this is 12th NCERT gives you, that may be a question. 1959 you have Swatantra Paksha, Swatantra Party. 1959 this Rajagopalachari, or DMK in 1948. Question for prelim may be have your understanding of a historic understanding, maybe a contemporary understanding. For example, Sonar Bangla is another important factor in your West Bengal election. West Bengal election, Prime Minister also in one of rallies talks about Lal Bal Pal. Lal Bal Pal. This is Lala Lajpat Rai, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, and Bipindra Pal. Lal Bal and Pal. Bipindra Pal. This try so-called your moderates and extremists, but you already question on for mains. So technically you cannot separate pre from mains for sure. And if you are analytical enough, then it's really useful for your prelims also. Just mugging up factual data. For example, what happened in 1907, what happened in 1911, 1910 or 1670 Purandar Treaty. That helps, that is essential, but that helps up to certain extent. Without conceptual clarity, you cannot plead the nature of question that UPSC asked in last say 4 or 5 years after 2016-17 precisely. So you need conceptual under, for example, Nepal is there, Myanmar. So what is my understanding of this map of Nepal, Myanmar? Previously also we discussed. Then your news related to Buddhism in China. Buddhism in China also is a huge entity. Right from say Yuan Sang or before that it's a Fayan also. So what exactly is the nature of Buddhism that we are talking in China? What is this connection with, for example, it's a Vallabhi connection. Then Kumarjiu was again a Buddhist monk who visited, that is China, that is elaborated and explained by Minister of External Affairs. What is the importance of Kumarjiu? Kumarjiu again laterally arrived, married there, settled there, and again you have certain action. Before that you have Kashyap Matang. Kashyap Matang supposed to be the first one who visited China. So it's a huge and long history. We have to consider all these aspects, because news may be a contemporary one, but question, what is the nature of question? It's a current, one line from current, one line from your basic, and one line may be your basic conceptual understanding of the situation. For example, is it a Therwad, or is it a Sarvastivadi, or is it a Vibhashik, what exact, or is it a another different kind of interaction with Chinese variety of the Buddhism. This is a statement, for example, Hyun Sung visited this Tamralipti was the port. Is it a correct statement? Then who was the bhikkhu there? So specific questions are already there. Sautrandri, question on Sautrandri, question on your Sthanakvasi from Jainism. So how to read paper? The basic purpose of Margee Morning is how to read paper for your, now in these days, it's a prelims. And for that we have initiated a new series that is, I think also useful, that is UPSC Prelims 21. So we will discuss in that 21 points useful for prelims. Margee Morning in that sense has, this is a dais or this is a platform where you have a various ways to analyze. This is just direction, that in this direction, for example, Afghan. So how to understand Afghan peace talks? You need a lot of reading. At least Margee Morning will give a direction that you need to decode this ungoverned spaces. What do you mean by ungoverned spaces? We need to understand the geography of Afghan, then contemporary issues related to Afghan peace talk. What exactly is the position of say China or say US when it's a contested territory, or what is exactly Indian position when US is again after Biden, you need a positional shift, or is it a continuity? So we need to discuss it thoroughly. Afghan again is an important factor for us. Then you have this in Hindu, you have this 100 years back. 100 years back also is important, as like 40 years back in Express. Today we have this Lord reading. What is important? For example, 1921 to say 25. Lord reading is the only perhaps Jew member of this whole Viceroy name and list. You have a Lord reading. Lord reading is a Jew member, and Lord readings. What happened? For example, Chauri Chaura happened in whose period? Is it a Lord reading? So, how to understand? This is say Lord Canning, Viceroy Canning. What happened between Canning? Santhal rebel happened during Canning's period or not? So, you need a contextual understanding of the 100 years back issue also. Is it a really important aspect? For small, suppose this is Akshar Dua, Chaturani 03, Chaturani 08. What exactly the name indicates? For example, you have so many questions on the same for prelims. Is it a ship from Sri Lanka? Is it a type of rice? So we need to underline these kinds of statements or particularly terminologies, that what exactly is the importance of these kinds of terminology. when we are reading in day to day, it seems that it's very simple. But after say 1, 2 or 3 months, it becomes really difficult to recall that, and hence you need certain mechanism to understand, to recall. You need certain code words, or periodic revision is also important factor. As like on Brahmaputra you have this is sub-river of Brahmaputra, you have a question on Brahmaputra. Yarlang Nagbo river, today Hindu on its fun page talks about Brahmaputra and what happens to Brahmaputra, various dams and China's position. So what exactly is the nature of that dam and how it is going to influence the whole course. Then you have this term called as, for example, I&4C, Indian Cyber Crime Coordination Center. I4C is also important term, I4C, and how you can use this is who is the initiator of this I4C, Ministry of Home Affairs. Interestingly, Ministry of Home Affairs is the origin of this I4C. So question may be your ministry, question may be Cyber Crime Coordination Center, C4C. Question may vary, or you have small, for example, it's a Shivaji terminus and it's a Pink Women's Day celebrated by railway, and you have this Shivaji terminal. So importance of Shivaji also again is an important factor. How to analyze again is a important question. How to understand really. You have in regional, for example, this is Lok Satta is a regional paper. It's a continuously almost daily some African nation or country discussed how it evolved and now independent. Today Angola in 1975, what happened to Angola, and if Angola is there, then you need to recall Mozambique also, its connection between Angola, is it Portugal or other. So you need to say, if people are talking, you need to understand why people are talking, and if that is really useful for us, then you have to jot it down, that importance of Angola. On regional also, for example, this is not just today's regional, various regional papers are talking, and in Times of India also it mentioned earlier versions of the Times of India. What is that? Reserve Bank Bill 1928. Reserve Bank Bill 1928, two personalities are at least correlated with this. This is Vittal Bhai Patel, and another again is Madhav Srihari and Loknayak. Loknayak also affiliated to JP, Jayaprakash Narayan, Loknayak. So Ane was from Vidarbha region, and in economic times you have this discussion on the vibrant Vidarbha and how we can understand industrial evolution of the Vidarbha. That may be useful. Industrial evolution, industrial expansion of Vidarbha or Varad, that may be useful to interview student. So technically paper reading is a must idea. Paper reading is a compulsory act. That slow, patient and calm and quiet reading is important. That ultimately pays. That means if you are a daily reader of any paper, and purpose of Margee is the same one, that if you are reading daily, then it's a useful idea. That you have to, you have to maybe a keen observer of the situation. You have election in Assam. Let's talk about the basic entities, because you have separate NCERT on Northeast. That may be useful idea for Assam. You have election in Kerala, Puducherry, Tamil Nadu. What happened in Puducherry? So how it 1954 France, right from its history to contemporary situation, or your say NH45, distance, or Podial case, various Supreme Court cases. Anything related to Puducherry is a welcome idea. When? Because it's a time of election. Whole society is opened and you can get so much information or so much analysis when it's a election time. So we will watch all these states. Perhaps we will discuss separately. We will make a separate series on this elections in particular states. For example, 824 places, which gives you more than 116 Lok Sabha seats, which again is a huge number. So this may be a really turning point, or really one need to watch what exactly is the outcome of all these elections. Then in regional also you have this, or regional paper talks about Chipko movement. Recently I have a book on Chipko, importance of Chipko movement. That may be prelim question. Consider the following. That means women were large participants, Gandhian influence. So you have 4 statements which is not correct. So read Chipko because you have this new book on Chipko movement. Then just now mentioned growth story of the Vidarbha, defense hub and industrial cluster. This is a Butibori industrial estate mentioned in that huge advertise in Economic Times. So prelim, one may feel that this is really not useful for prelim, but ultimately it's a overall plan of your UPSC. It is for mains, it is for prelims, and it is for interview. You need to concentrate on all things. For example, FICCI, small news on FICCI. So FICCI started in 1927, then FICCI initiated certain ideas at that time. From FICCI to DICCI, you have this idea called as a DICCI. FICCI and DICCI both talks about the women's empowerment, and then what is the importance of women's empowerment. Then in another important aspect, that is Stockholm plus 50. Sunita Narayan talks about, because it is completed. We have initiated in 1972 discussion on environmental issues. What exactly is the content of the environmental issues? Now you have Stockholm plus 50. Stockholm plus, what is the importance of Stockholm plus 50? It's a environment per se is there, but real issues inequitable world. Suppose you have these 4 options. What exactly is the demand of the Stockholm plus 50? Inequitable world. How to minimize that? Inequality is a real challenge along with the environmental challenge. And Times of India talks about judicial constitutional validity. That is old debate. What is the limitation of parliament when it's question of judiciary, and what is the limitation of judiciary when it's a question of parliament? Article 104, Article 194. So there are various ways to understand how we can proceed and approach towards your papers. Prima facie, it seems that this is really not useful idea. For example, this is ethanol blending program, National Biofuel Policy 2018. You have this first generation, second generation, third generation, fourth generation. Factually, all this data is important. Ethanol. So how to then create a shift, because Department of Food and Public Distribution notified and modified scheme to produce IG ethanol is a news. So keen reading ultimately, I think, is useful idea. Keen paper reading ultimately helps for prelim. Your own reading. This is, and in that sense, this video may be a real pusher to those who are already reading. They may get idea that I am missing all these points, or at least 6 points I am not able to recollect, and hence I have to recollect that. That is the sole purpose of this, that to give direction and to underline. These are 4 places that you need to again restructure your reading. That is the sole purpose of Margee morning. In continuation with our discussion, for example, this Indo-Bangladesh continuously people are talking. Then you have this Samprati mentioned in that news. Then you have Milan with Navy, Samprati with Army, 2009, 1995, 2005. So how to understand contemporary situation? If certain things are continuously changing, then don't make notes. Creating note may be a wastage of time. But certain accords are there. Now it's a evolved discussion, and this is full stop. This is a paradigm shift. Then you have to jot it down. That is the basic way to create your own note. But own notes are your own material is important. This is, I can say, small news. In novel initiative by Pune Jilla Parishad, friendly Sakhi sale in all Panchayat Samiti. So, how people are approaching towards gender sensitized your overall administration. So, we can learn from such small news. That means at the same time you have to keep in the mind that for the ethics that may be useful idea. For essay, this is a really, today's quote is really important quote. Kennedy talks about so and so, worldly wise. Or you have many other sources. For example, regional, this is Mother Teresa quote in Maharashtra Times. So, whatever your maybe source, some students are say from Rajasthan, Kerala, Madhya Pradesh, you can read and must read your regional papers also, and then go for national. That saves those who are not comfortable with per se English medium of expression. Then That may be useful idea. Read regional and then go for English. That saves your time. To conclude, what we can say in our last concluding statements, that we need to focus on factual data, at the same time conceptual clarity and factual. Sometimes paper may be, for example, this is the news that Arthashastra is a 4th century BC text. It's debatable. So every argument evolved from your paper is correct argument, maybe a contested idea or maybe a wrong idea. So you need to cross check that material. So you have to be yourself and be critical, because some people will say no, it's a 1st century text, and some people will say it's not a text also, it's a tradition. Arthashastra is a tradition, Arthashastra tradition. So this term called as Smriti, Manusmriti. So how Smritis are different from Shastras and how Sutra is different from both three ends. So we need etymological understanding, how the terms are evolved. What is the meaning of Manav Dharma Shastra? Is it really about state, Manusmriti, or it's a society, and it's Arthashastra, Shasana Shastra? That means it's a government, not economy. Or is it a economy also? People like Trotman or other people, or R.P. Kangle, continues talking about the importance of Arthashastra. In that way, of course, there are so many other news. Lack of time, and we will discuss that, say these are 11 points supposed to discuss in today's Margee morning. But because of either time pressure or because you have to create your own understanding, and hence purposefully I have omitted certain entities that in the expectation that you are going to read. We will discuss afterward what exactly is the that gap, because your own understanding is the real factor that ultimately helps, and you need your own critical engagement with paper at least within given prescribed minimum time. That may be from, say this is 8 marks, then 1 hour, maybe more than, but that 1 hour crucial reading is essential. I think on that note, we will conclude this Margee morning. We will meet in another session.